I don't know which lie to start with. I guess since we're talking about the protests, Netanyahu seemed obsessed with the protesters, and he referred to them as Iran's useful idiots. Whoops.
For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building.
For all we know, I mean, we don't know, but we'll just assume it.
Not that many, but they're there and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Our government is so stupid.
Some of these protesters.
Anya?
No, I mean, they're just so dumb, those people. Like,
well, that's the Republican side of the aisle.
They're just wound up little monkeys with symbols.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
I mean, you gotta hand it to Netanyahu. No foreign leader can so perfectly play all the notes that the various political groups in the United States want to hear as well as he can, doing that, the appeal there, like the gay chicken KFC joke, like that's red meat to the Republicans there. Also the frat boys that he referenced with the flag, like he's so good at that. That's why they could never replace him.
Yeah, I mean, but he's primarily, I mean, what he's doing there, Aaron, is he's attacking American citizens in front of the American Congress, and they're cheering for a foreign leader attacking American citizens, and they can't really see how that's incompatible with America first. And you're muted.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Kamala Harris called the protesters unpatriotic, as meanwhile they're protesting a Congress that is giving a standing ovation to a genocidal foreign leader and treating him as if he's their leader. Mike Johnson called him His Excellency, and so giddy as he introduced him. All these, America firsters. I mean, what a complete joke that whole thing is. It's apartheid first, Israel first. They all these people in that coalition, they all gave him standing ovations, except for, I mean, I don't know if Thomas Massey identifies as America first, but he's the only Republican that I know of who skipped the speech. But yeah, as Anya was saying, like a complete joke. And I mean, he lied so many times.
Well, we'll go through the lies, but he spent like 20 minutes on attacking U.S. civil society, attacking the protesters, attacking Americans who are against his genocide. Like I've never seen that happen in U.S. Congress where a foreign leader did that. And to me, it shows desperation. It shows that we're getting to him. It shows the effectiveness of these protests, that he feels like he actually has to respond to them because they're playing the role that the leader of the U.S. should have been playing, where they're trying to actually set a red line. And so he feels the need to discredit them for some reason, when I would have thought, I mean, he even started out saying there aren't that many of them out there and they're just a bunch of freaks. It's like when every attack on us in mainstream media starts with the Grayzone is a fringe publication. It's like, then why are you acknowledging our presence? Or like Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro's Shabbos Goy, attacked Anya and said, nobody actually cares what you think. Like, if you don't care what she thinks, then don't respond to her. Don't acknowledge her. But Netanyahu seemed obsessed with this presence that will not go away and which is going to increase at the Democratic convention. And so I think that's a win for the anti-genocide camp, all of its crazy lies notwithstanding.
It reminds me of when the protests around U.S. college campuses were erupting, and Israeli officials were basically giving orders, dictating orders to the U.S. police to crack down on them. And our government, our own State Department spokespeople, would not defend the free speech rights of Americans in that dynamic. That's what we're seeing now, is Netanyahu coming and saying, what I say matters, the constitutional rights of these citizens. They're just, and he's trying to criminalize them too, but he's planting the seed to get someone to investigate them for Iran funding or something ridiculous like that, which I'm sure, Elise Stefanik or someone as vapid as her in Congress will willingly do.
Yeah. I mean, Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, claimed in an NDI report, a DNI report, that Iran was possibly funding the protests and was encouraging the protests. There was no evidence put forward. There's no sourcing. They will not provide any public evidence. And when they say encouraging, it could just simply mean that Press TV is covering the protests.
Yeah, it's why Josh Shapiro would be such a dangerous pick for Kamala. And there are some reports out there that suggest he will actually, that she is already leaning toward him. So, because he was really on the front line of, oh no, there's anti-Semitism on campuses. Like, we need to really crack down on this as a Democratic governor.
Yeah, he was the ultimate Democratic anti-Semitism false flagger. And I had actually almost forgotten. So many insane things have happened in the past few months, Anya, that Netanyahu essentially ordered the U.S. to send the National Guard, Kent State style, on nonviolent student protesters. And the Biden administration is fully playing into this, fueling the attacks on American citizens by a foreign apartheid state through comments like this from John Kirby, reciprocal U.S.-Israeli spokesman.
We've said ourselves, the Director of National Intelligence came out publicly and said that we do know that Iran has been funding and encouraging some of the protest activity here in the United States. Some of it. We do not believe that all the protest activity out there on a daily basis is being fully funded by Iran. There's a lot of organic concern out there in the American people about what's going on in the Middle East. And most of these protests are formed and fashioned in that regard.
So some of it, but we won't say which. And then he doubled down later in an interview. They're obviously prepping this for the DNC so they can say Iran is protesting us, just as they would have said Russia is protesting us. Like Rachel Maddow said, the Rage Against the War Machine rally was Russia sponsored. So this is the same trick they always pull out, the same McCarthyite trick, and they never produce evidence. And the press isn't even following up with them and saying, can you point us to one piece of concrete evidence to support that?
Oh, Iran also wants to shoot Trump. Don't forget that.
That's right. The Secret Service leaked that Iran wanted to assassinate Trump. They were aware of a plot before the Thomas Matthew Crooks plot that they somehow couldn't crack, of a guy who was like a bright young math student. But they were somehow able to detect the Iranian plot based on one anonymous human source. So it's all.
And even though they were aware of this Iranian plot, they didn't have really great security at that Trump event because they knew that Iranians couldn't shoot from a sloped roof.
Yeah, Iran doesn't have a ballistic missile that can fire from a sloped roof, so they don't need anyone up there.
And again, even from the point of view, if you're someone who really cares about patriotism, as Kamala Harris claims to. So now you have the Biden administration parroting foreign leaders' smear of people exercising their rights to free speech and saying they're funded by Iran. And the Biden administration's like, modification is, okay, they're not all funded by Iran, but some of them are. So that's how they differ from Netanyahu. Netanyahu didn't make that distinction. He said they're funded by Iran. John Kirby says, only some of them are funded by Iran. It's just such an insult to everybody's intelligence. And if you care about patriotism, to that too.
Yeah, this week was one big insult to the American people. And it was that day that Netanyahu was speaking, people weren't even sure that Biden was alive. They were asking for proof of life videos for our actual president. Like, that's the state of our country right now. It's kind of unbelievable.
Well, here's another Titanic lie from Netanyahu.
They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim,
Talking about the protest.
into a home. The parents hid the children, the 2 babies in the attic, in a secret attic. They murdered the families, the parents. They found the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Who could possibly believe that? Like what?
Well, you know what's the giveaway that it's phony, other than the fact that there's only one documented baby who died on October 7th. Mila Cohen, who was 11 months old, was in a safe room and a bullet was inadvertently fired through the door. There's another like tell there that he's lying, which is that he basically transposed the story of Anne Frank onto these imaginary babies, because Anne Frank was hiding in her secret annex, her secret attic. When you go to the Anne Frank Museum, it builds up to her secret annex in the attic where she hid. And so he's just invoking the Holocaust, just straight up lying, a complete lie. And as I pointed out just recently on Twitter, none of the fact checkers that were fact checking Trump, like Daniel Dale, I got Trump on 19 lies, I'm Daniel Dale, the Democrats activated me. He went on vacation when Netanyahu came to town. And BBC Verify?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah.
CNN.
Nowhere.
Jake Tapper refused. They would refuse to play Trump campaign speeches because of the lies. And then anytime that they do, they have to fact check it. And so, I mean, Netanyahu's speech, they would need multiple fact checkers for that one. I mean, again, it's just an insult. And then Dana Bash gets on air and says, this was like a president giving a State of the Union address to the U.S. people. Like, okay, yeah, maybe that is what this was.
Yeah, sometimes they let the truth slip out, as she did. It made Ilan Levy, Netanyahu's fired spokesman, sent the thrill up his leg. This looked like an American president giving a State of the Union address, said Dana Bash, who took the name of still has the name of her ex-husband, Jeremy Bash, who was the chief of staff for the CIA and the Pentagon, and who was born Dana Schwartz, and whose father is a pro-Israel rabbi in New Jersey. So she's, one of the two major, I guess the 3 horsemen of the APAC-opolis, I can't even say it at CNN, along with Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper. Apocalypse. Yeah.
It's her and then Anderson Cooper. They always have to have the CIA Vanderbilt asset on too. It's the 4 of them.
Anderson Cooper interned for the CIA in college. Let's go to the next lie. I mean, the lies are so staggering. I was trying to collect them all today, and I just had to eventually give up. Where are we at here?
Ask the commander there.
Wait. Okay, so Netanyahu's talking about how first he actually takes a swipe at the Biden administration in Congress, and he said they were saying that tens of thousands of people would be killed in Rafa if we went in. Well, guess who went into Rafa, the city in southern Gaza? Me. I went there and I met our commanders, and now he's describing meeting a commander.
How many terrorists did you take out in Rafa? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none, with the exception of a single incident where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed 24 people. The answer is practically none. You want to know why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way, something people said we could never do, but we did it. Ask the commander there.
They actually cheered for that.
Woohoo!
So he's referring to the tent camp massacre right, where Israel burned people alive in Rafa, and then afterwards claimed that that's when they released that phony recording where they got actors to pretend as if they're people in Gaza, saying that that Israel hit our weapons depot and that's what caused the fire. So that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, the recordings are all very credible, like the threats of the Olympics that they're creating.
Yeah.
Like the assassination on Trump from Iran. It's all,
I was like,
And what's notable,
hello, Habibi.
what was notable,
baby, Habibi.
what was notable about that massacre is that it was used with the so-called small bombs the Biden administration was touting as part of its great plan to reduce civilian casualties. They were no longer going to send 2,000-pound bombs and instead rush these so-called small bombs to Israel. And those so-called small bombs are what massacred people in that Rafa tent camp. And then Netanyahu then goes and claims that didn't happen. And it only happened because Israel accidentally hit a Hamas weapons depot, which of course is a complete lie.
I mean, I don't think he's even referring to any incident.
Well, when they killed people in Rafa, that's what the line was, that we accidentally hit this Hamas weapons depot, and that's what. So I think that's what he's citing there, because that was, and again, that's what gave us the recording of
their cover story. There was a Hamas senior operative there. There's so many senior operatives in Hamas. They have like more seniors than the AARP. And they're always in these camps where children are hiding in their secret attic when they get blown up by the Nazi militias of Netanyahu. And it really speaks to the objective, I think, the psychological objective of his speech, that the lie is so big. He's trying to establish an extreme dissonance between our reality and the one that he's putting forward, so that people in between will see him being applauded, telling these lies, and question the reality that would otherwise be provable, because it can't possibly be that so many people in Congress would take this seriously unless there was some truth to it. And so many people are inclined to actually trust his source. And who is his source? Anonymous commander Shlomo in Rafa, who killed 103 terrorists. And who are terrorists? Well, I mean, the Israeli military's basically told its soldiers they have free fire orders, and that, hey, those kids that you're sniping in the head, American doctors are coming back documenting multiple bullet wounds to the heads of children, 9-year-olds in Gaza. Well, those are future terrorists. So just say you killed 103 terrorists. Just go fire bullets randomly. That was one of the more infuriating parts of his speech.
And the sad thing, what I felt watching that and watching all of the members of Congress just jump up for every little thing he said is, you have brave people like Thomas Massie who boycotted, and for the Democrats, it wasn't really that controversial at this point to do so. But for most people sitting in that room, I don't think they're even aware that another narrative exists. There are a few bad actors who totally believe this 100%, they are ideologically committed to Zionism and to Netanyahu. But for most of the run-of-the-mill members of Congress in there, I think they're just that uninformed. They don't read for themselves the way Thomas Massie might, or seek out alternative information. They're just, this is the only reality that possibly exists for them, is the one that Netanyahu puts forward. And so it's just sad to think about people in our government being that dumb. And
they are dumb, and they're
they just don't read. They don't do anything. They just really only care about money and sitting there.
Yeah. And walking through the revolving door. Here's another lie from Netanyahu. Or this is just speaks to Netanyahu's insane worldview.
In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
So basically saying Iranians are uncivilized, the entire Arab Levant is uncivilized, And Israel he's channeling a deeply racist quote by the Zionist godfather Theodore Herzl during the high period of colonialism, when Herzl said that Zionism, or Israel, a future Zionist state, will be a rampart of civilization against barbarism. And Netanyahu went on to say that Iran is actually coming to a neighborhood near you. They will invade and essentially take over if you don't support us in Israel and give us the tools we need to finish the job.
Yeah. I'm going to hop off, but I just want to make one more point, because on that whole clash, he evoked Samuel Huntington to Clash of Civilizations later and said, like, this isn't a clash of civilization. It's of a civilization against barbarism. So yeah, he was like taking the neocon line even more in a nastier, even nastier direction. So, though at the end he did say victory over liberty, which said a lot.
Yeah,
he accidentally missed.
Stay with us for at least that one, and we'll hear the ultimate Freudian slip by Netanyahu, and then we'll bid farewell to Anya.
Do this. No matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent. Israel will not bend. We will defend our land. We will defend our people. We will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny. Victory of life over death, over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny. Victory over liberty, rather.
Yeah. The only true statement he made.
Yeah.